The glow faded within the hour. The mark it left behind did not, and by morning it had grown. Baba Fasoranti looked at it for a long time before he said the words I had been dreading since the moment the water first chose sides in that tunnel. Nothing that river gives is free, child. Not even protection. What does it want this time? I asked. I was getting tired of asking that question. I was getting more tired of never liking the answer. The river gave you its strength to protect the people you love, he said. It will keep giving you that strength, but strength like that roots itself. Every time you use it, it grows a little deeper into you and a little further from the girl your grandmother raised. How much further can it go before there is nothing of her left underneath it? Mama Odara demanded. Baba Fasoranti didn't answer. I have come to understand that his silences are always the most honest thing about him. Isioma held her bare arm next to mine without a word. Nothing, not even a shadow of what was spreading across mine. Why only her? Isioma asked quietly. Baba Fasoranti looked between us for a long moment before he answered. Because she was the one who reached for it, he said. Not because the river loves her more, because she has spent her whole life reaching toward things quietly without asking permission first. That is not a river trait, child. That is simply who you have always been. There was no time to sit with that thought. There rarely is in a palace. Owamiri banners at the eastern border, the messenger said. Several hundred men, moving slowly, deliberately. Slowly was somehow worse than fast would have been. Slowly meant they weren't afraid of being seen. The king stood before anyone could stop him. Whatever weakness the last few days had left in his body, none of it reached his voice. Then Nnamdi has already reached his master. We have less time than I hoped. Let me go to the border, Dayo said. If my father's men see me standing against them, it might buy us time. It might make them hesitate. Or it might make them decide you're worth capturing instead of hesitating over, I said. I hated how much I meant it. I spent my whole life being raised as someone else's weapon, he said quietly. Let me finally decide just once what I actually get used for. The king agreed, though it clearly cost him something to say yes. We gathered around an old war map that hadn't been unrolled in a generation. If Owamiri crosses here, Isioma said, tapping the river's winding path on the map, they have to cross the water first, and the water already knows exactly whose side it's on. Every face at that table turned toward me at the same moment. I understood all at once that whatever the river was slowly turning me into, it hadn't finished deciding what it needed me for yet, and an army was already marching toward the answer. I thought the hardest part would be figuring out what the river wanted from me. I was wrong again. The hardest part was about to arrive wearing the same warm eyes as the boy I loved. I had never seen an army before. I had imagined noise. Instead, it was the silence that frightened me most. Dayo walked to that riverbank alone, unarmed, the way he used to walk through the village market without guards. I finally understood that had never just been kindness. It had always been practice. The man who crossed the water first wasn't a soldier. It was Dayo's father. And the way he looked at his son, I want to say it was cold. It wasn't. That was almost worse. You look well, my son, the Duke said. 16 years I let another kingdom raise you into a king. I did not send an army to hurt you. I sent it to finally bring you home. This is my home, Dayo said. It has been for 16 years. I did not need rescuing from it, father. I needed you to stop sending men to burn it down for my benefit. We weren't supposed to be that close, Isioma insisted, and by that point in the story, I had learnt better than to argue with her instincts. He believes every word he's saying, Isioma whispered. That makes him more dangerous than Nnamdi ever was. Nnamdi knew he was lying. This man thinks he's the hero of this story. I had spent this entire story learning to recognize monsters by how they smiled. Nobody had warned me the most dangerous ones might genuinely believe they loved you. I don't know how he saw me through that many trees, but his eyes found mine like he already knew exactly what he was looking for. Chief Advisor Nnamdi told me a great deal about your kingdom's new complications, the Duke called out, not to Dayo anymore, but clearly for all of us to hear. Isioma stepped out before I could stop her. If you're going to look at my sister, she said, loud enough to carry across the water, you can look at me instead. I watched him recalculate everything in real time, the same way Nnamdi once had. Men like that never stop calculating, even when they're pretending to negotiate. Owamiri does not need to be your enemy, he said. 2 royal daughters, a strong neighboring house, and a peace that could last generations. I am not the villain in this story, girls. I am simply the only one here, still thinking about tomorrow. Leave them out of this, Dayo said, and for the first time, I heard something in his voice I hadn't heard before. Not fear, not performance, just fury, entirely his own. The river felt it too. I don't know how else to explain what happened next, except that it had been listening this entire time, and it had finally heard enough. A wall of light rose straight out of the river, stretching the entire width of the water, dividing both banks completely. Not a flood, a boundary. The Duke looked at that wall of light for a long moment. Then he smiled, not defeated, not afraid. Like a man who had just been handed proof of exactly what he came looking for. Well, he said quietly, before turning back toward his men. That settles that question, doesn't it? If you made it this far, comment the river has chosen. If you think the river is protecting Tolani, not controlling her. And tell me your theory. Do you trust the Duke, or do you think he's even more dangerous than Nnamdi? Don't forget to like, subscribe to Moonlight Tales by Joy, and share this story with someone who loves epic African fantasy, mystery, and plot twists.